The timing of the Netflix show The Circle was perfect, being released during the pandemic while the world was locked into their homes, making it harder to make shows, but also having more eyes available to watch. That's when Netflix would adapt a UK show into an American spin-off. If you haven't seen the show, it's pretty much just a popularity contest that's held behind a watered-down version of a social media website where the contestants are locked into their own apartments inside of the same building and shut off from the world and each other, with their only way to communicate being through that social media site that they call The Circle, with the biggest twist being some people coming in as themselves while others choosing to be a catfish. It's really an interesting social experiment where the bonds you built with someone that you might not have normally connected with in real life can be formed behind these screens. And to me, it really puts into perspective what current day social media really is. From a plus size woman who catfished as a smaller woman to a guy who was catfishing as his girlfriend. It's full of wild moments, but the cast made the show a hit, and it even jump-started so many careers after the show. From moguls on Forbes, to models, to tech gurus. We will look into where the entire cast of Netflix The Circle Season 1 is today. But without further ado though, let's go ahead and blast right back into this. Alana Duval, winning The Circle as herself, ironically was the first one to go home because didn't believe she was who she was portraying herself to be. She made it known that she was a model when she entered The Circle, and though the guys seemed interested in the way that she looked, a lot of people believed she was a catfish, which got her sent home. But after the show, she's boasting almost 150,000 followers on Instagram, and she's currently still doing the model thing, even landed some covers on some magazines. So it's safe to say that she was who she was portraying herself to be. Antonio and his mother came to America while he was still young, and growing up, it seemed like they had to figure a lot out. He got really good at basketball, and even played for his high school team at Polytech, which turned to him playing at college at Lincoln. He seemed to perform very well there, good enough that he was actually able to travel overseas and become part of a league over there. His time on the show was short. A lot of people just wasn't feeling his vibe, and he didn't build enough connections to keep him around for long. But that didn't seem to matter or stop him, because after the show, he traveled back overseas and he seemed to become a successful businessman, getting a showing on multiple magazines for his business ventures, including Forbes. He purchased a basketball league back home in Africa, and it seems like he's one of the up-and-coming successful young businessmen in Africa. So congrats to him. It's good to see, and keep pushing. Karen Blanco was actually one of the first catfish we're going to talk about today. She came in as Mercedes, and with Karen being a proud lesbian, she decided to come in as a pretty girl, so she was able to kind of flirt with the boys or be a part of the girls at the same time. It seemed to work out for her for the most part, but due to her not being able to make connections with some of the main core of the cast, she ended up being on the outside looking in and going home. But after the show, that's when she really seemed to hit stride. With over 130,000 followers on her Instagram, she's now known as the silent celeb. And whether it comes to music or comedy and anything food, whether she's cooking it or just trying out different restaurants in New York, it seems like because of her personality, she was able to transcend her little bit of time on the show and become an online celebrity after. So salute to Karen for that. Next up, we got Miranda, who unfortunately for her came in a little bit later than the starting cast and ended up getting kicked off after assuming her fellow castmate Sammie was a catfish. But she made her most known moment before she left the house though, when she met face to face with fellow castmate Joey. After the show though, she's just become a model and an influencer and was noted for dating Matt Hunkins. So it seems like life after the Circle's doing pretty good for her. Up next, we got two people that kind of decided to go more of the family route after the show. Bill Cranley came in late to the show, so he couldn't really make connections. But currently, him and his lady had twins, and it seems like their hands is full taking care of those, so congrats to them. And same thing goes for Alex, who him and his longtime lady brought in a little version of themselves into the world. And it seems like they're all enjoying life, growing, taking care of their little ones. Sean Taylor was actually a person that came in later into the season, and though she already worked doing social media, she thought it was a great idea to come in as a skinnier blonde woman, even though she was a plus size woman herself, which caused a lot of controversy from fans that watched the show, because eventually after she met everyone, she switched to pictures of herself, showing everybody who she truly was, which confused a lot of the cast, which got her sent home directly after that. After the show, she continued living her life as a fashion influencer and documenting her move from New York to Richmond, Virginia with her boyfriend and dog. But up next, we had the first duo in the house, where Tammy and Ed A mother and son pair joined up together to play as just the son Ed, which ended up in my opinion being a bad move because due to some of the inconsistencies between their answers, a lot of people couldn't connect with them. So since he had a short showing on TV, he ended up returning right after, appearing on MTV's The Challenge 37, and even dropped some music after the show. His mom Tammy is still working and being a mom, enjoying her life, and boasting even 16,000 followers on IG. So it seems like she even got a little bit of a following after the show. Up next, we got a really polarizing player who ended up being the only catfish to make the finals. Seaburn went in playing as his girlfriend, whose name was actually Sammie, but on the show, he renamed himself Rebecca. A lot of people went back and forth on Seaburn because he seemed to be really in touch with his emotions, which some people couldn't tell if he was acting or if it was genuinely him. The most interesting part of his storyline at the show was when he got to meet face to face with all the cast in the finale, causing shock to a lot of the other castmates. After the show though, it seems like him and his girl ended up breaking up, and he's just focused on using his following to spread positivity, saying that eventually he wants to be an actor or get into comedy. But it seems like he really started locking in on making music. That was until he had a recent health scare where fortunately enough his sister was able to get him to the hospital before things got too severe. He said he went unresponsive and he had to get brought back to life. Thankfully he's still here with us today and he's currently still making music, so he seems like he's on the road to recovery. Up next we got the hood spiritual hustler himself, Chris Sapphire, and a lot of people praised him for being authentic throughout the entire show. Afterwards that seemed to pay off a lot because he ended up being the host for season 3's reunion, and it seemed like his social media following exploded after being on the show, allowing him a multitude of opportunities like being in partnerships with AirSculpt and Manscaped, and even starred on Netflix Dancing Queen. With almost 500,000 followers on IG and an upcoming Circle cruise, you can only imagine that this is just the beginning of Chris and where his career is going to keep rising to. Up next we got Sammie Cimarelli, aka Sammie, who was a strong player for the entire game and spent a lot of time at the top of the game making connections with pretty much everyone. But that ability to make connections didn't seem to stop after she left the show, becoming an ambassador for everything, whether it be food or clothing, even being on Rihanna's Savage Fenty campaign. Boasting just under 900,000 followers on IG, she seems to be one of the more popular after the show. She also ended up having a child recently, with the father being Spencer Moore from 13 Reasons. Currently she's still doing her mom thing and just living life, enjoying time with her kid, so congrats to that. Shubham, aka Shuby, was a UCLA grad who was a virtual reality game developer who didn't have the fondest outlook on social media, but being on the show managed to turn that all around, with him able to create bonds with a lot of people on the show that he still carries today, and over 500,000 followers to boot. He ended up coming back on the Circle again on season 5, this time being forced to catfish, which didn't work out for him at all. Currently he's still beating up with his Circle fam. He has his own VR firm, and it seems like he's going back to school to further his degree, so salute to him for that. And last but definitely not least, we got the family man himself, Joey Sasso, who's currently doing uncomfortable questions for Circle members, which end up being some real funny clips. Still keeping real tight bonds with some of his castmates like Shuby especially and Chris. He followed up his time on the Circle with being on another show called The Perfect Match, where he ended the show proposing to his long on and off girlfriend, Carousel, but it appears that relationship has then been ended since. And recently, as I've edited in this video, he's even announced that he's dropping his first movie that he's been working on for a very long time. So it's kind of his life's passion project. So definitely congrats to Joey on that. The Circle's timing was perfect, and in the age where social media is a part of life each and every day, the cast was able to make the most of their time. Some feel like the Circle glorifies catfishing, but I believe that the Circle just put a spotlight on what we should already know. You can't believe everything you see online, and building connections in person will always be the best way. And if you watch this to the end and you haven't seen the Circle, make sure y'all go ahead and watch it. It's a good show and they got a lot of seasons, so you should definitely enjoy it. But like always, y'all, you know this your boy Stone Astro. If you end up liking the video, make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know who your favorite member is of the Circle. But we out of here, man, so go ahead and drop that outro.